Prophet dies. The companions of the prophet, the ones I just erased, the ashab, say, it should be one of us who succeeds him. And they elect, through consensus, which will later be a basic part of Islamic law, consensus. Ijma is called in Islamic law. Ijma, consensus. That little squiggle at the end is an iron. Ijma, consensus. They say that the person who should succeed the prophet was a very respected older man called Abu Bakr. So he's first caliph. This is the caliphate. Caliphate simply means successor. Successor to the prophet. Khalifa, to succeed. That's what it means. Khalifa means to succeed. Khulafa, the plural, odd plural. Khulafa, the caliph, the successors. These are known as the right-guided successors. The Khulafa Rashidin. Rashidin, right-guided. Khulafa, the plural of Khalifa. You see, the plurals in Arabic are different than you would expect in most languages. The vowels and the simplification changes the emphasis. So these are the right-guided caliphs. Number one, according to the Sunnis now, and this is Sunni Islam, and Sunni Islam really is based on ijma, consensus. That's why the Sunnis say we're democratic, because we believe in democracy, we believe in elections, we believe in consensus. But it's a consensus, ultimately, when we get into law of the scholars, as where Sunni Islam goes. But Sunni means customary Islam. As it develops in the law, Sunni will actually come to mean the custom of the Prophet, the tradition of the Prophet. And that's part of the development of Islamic law that takes place over the next 2 centuries. But for the moment, this is the beginning of Sunni Islam too, with the right-guided caliphs, customary Islam. And what guarantees it? Ijma. And ijma is a principle found in the hadith of the Prophet. I heard some guy on the radio talking about hadith this morning as I drove up. I didn't know what he was talking about. They were supposed to be the sayings of the Prophet in his everyday life, he was saying, but every saying from the Lord's Prayer to God knows what went into the hadith. And hadith is somewhat like the Gospels in terms of how Islam is formed. It's like the good news. Hadith means news. Gospels are good news about Jesus Christ. The hadith are news about Muhammad, basically, outside of the Quran. But a lot of things that he never obviously said, according to Western scholars, found their way into the hadith. Muslims don't think that, but Western scholars think that. So this is another argument between West and East, and why people like that fellow Edward Said, hated Western Orientalists, even though he taught at Columbia, because they criticized Islam. They weren't criticizing Islam. They criticized Christianity, Judaism, and everything else. So Western scholars just behave that way towards tradition. They try to analyze it, oral tradition. And the hadith were something that they were very stern about, the Western scholars, and Muslims don't like that. But that's just the way Western scholars are very stern about what? The Gospels. They rip the Gospels to shreds. I don't think people in Kentucky and Tennessee like that either. I don't think Pete Bush's new Supreme Court nominee will like that either. But that's but I think Muslims just don't realize that Western scholars do that. They rip things up. Well, why do they rip things up? Well, that's just what scholars do, because they study things and they analyze them. And when you analyze and study things, you rip them up. It's just normal. You should see what we do, as some of you have said, to the Old Testament. We should rip it up. Even though we might like the book. We're not against the book. We might enjoy the stories, but we'd like to see how it was put together. So we don't get into the divine origins of the Old Testament, of the New Testament, or even the Quran. We're totally equal on that. Some Muslims will say, oh, you're being hard on Islam. I think we're actually being very easy on Islam, from my point of view. I I don't think we're being hard on Islam at all. In fact, we're being very kind to Islam. The only people who say that we're being hard on Islam is they just don't know what we do in the other areas. So, and if a religious studies teacher isn't doing it, he's not doing his job as a religious studies teacher, because you might as well just go to a church or a synagogue or a mosque then. So you come to university to get analysis. So we try to do the analysis. And one of the places that they do this analysis is in the Hadith. The Hadith is where the battle is waged. I don't think they do this with the Quran that much. They only do what I did with the Quran. They don't undermine the Quran or question it. They think it represents the Prophet's authentic ideas. They don't really say it's not accurate. You know, it may not be, I don't know, but they don't. Scholars don't say it's inaccurate. They just say this is early, this is late, this is Medinese, this is Meccan. They like to do that kind of thing. But that's not hurting the Quran to any extent. You follow me? But the Hadith, they're not kind to the Hadith. But they're no worse to the Hadith than the Gospels. Anyway, so-called anti-Orientalists, Edward Said and company, don't like what Western scholars do, even though he made his living in the West and had a very good living at Columbia. And I wish I had the job he had at Columbia. I went to Columbia. I had a PhD from Columbia. They didn't hire me. They hired Edward Said, and he had a good sinecure his whole life, and I'm sitting here in the boondocks. So he had no complaint, frankly. He had no complaint whatsoever. I wish I had the salary of the job he had in Western academia. In Western academia. Anyway, it's easy to, beat your own nest and soil your own environment. That's the easiest thing to do. Never mind. I don't agree with him on his attack on Western Orientalists. I think Western Orientalists have done a good job and are to be complimented on the good work that they've done. And if you don't like what they've done, do it better. As Muhammad says, write a better one. In any case, to get back to the issue. So, in the Hadith, as things went on, Sunnah became Sunnah of the Prophet. Originally, Sunnah simply meant, and this is what a very famous 19th century scholar called Goldseer wrote a book called, I forget the name of it, Muhammad Anishes Studieren, he wrote it in German. I think, though, I forget what he was writing about this particular word, but he said that Sunnah originally meant in Arabic a beaten track in the desert, where the caravans went. One caravanning over, and so it was a beaten path where the ancestors trod. So it became the custom of the ancestors. But as the Hadith developed, it became the custom of the Prophet. There's one Hadith put in the Prophet's mouth that says, "My community will never agree on an error." My community will never agree on an error. I'm sure the Prophet never said that, but in any case, it's